Okay. I will start because I think we are running out of time. So the presentation I will make is really a draft paper written with Samuel Gebreselassie, who is in the room, and this is the deliverable D45 on the role of domestic policies in food and nutrition security, the case of net food importing countries. So this paper is based for the moment on Ethiopia and Burkina Faso, and findings from Kenya and Benin will be included in thank you in the final version. Okay, thank you. So the motivation behind this paper is that first, we all know that food and nutrition security is a really multi-dimensional issue. Here, multidimensionality refers to agriculture, nutrition, trade, social issues, so different sectors are concerned, but it also refers to the structural and temporal nature of food and nutrition security. And to ensure that all the dimensions of food and nutrition security are considered in food and nutrition security policies, intersectoral collaboration is frequently recommended, in particular in the field of nutrition. And so the main question we try to address in this paper is how policies address the multidimensionality of food and nutrition security. There are three sub-questions. How effective is intersectoral collaboration? What is the role of development partners in the policy-making processes? And how trade policies relate to food security? So basically, we reviewed the literature on public policies, in particular related to intersectoral collaboration, and we conducted a number of interviews in selected countries. The countries have been selected based, I will say, on food secure criteria. So you have the list of pre-selected countries, the different groups, etc. And of course, networks and contacts on the ground have been also key in the selection. So between 10 to 20 really qualitative interviews were conducted at different periods of time. And the key elements we examined in the policy documents and the key questions I will not go through this table, don't worry. But I just would like to say that, so the key elements we examined in the policy documents and the key questions we addressed to the interviewees were based on an analytical framework drawn upon the literature. And basically, we went through two kinds of literature. One in political economy, focusing on food and nutrition security governance, and the other one, in blue, in political science, focusing on policy changes or policy inertia. And so what did we learn from this literature review? 4 factors we want to focus on. The first one is the importance of cognitive aspects in public policy analysis. It means the importance of the visions, of the perceptions actors have on the public problem and on the solutions that should be implemented. The second factor is path dependency. It means that the way the public problem has been initially framed strongly influences the current policy-making processes. Third, the importance of intersectoral spaces for debate. It means spaces where different or alternative visions of the problem and of its solutions could be debated, confronted. This is key for policy changes. And four, the importance of high-level leadership or commitment, or the existence of policy entrepreneurs, leaders, champions, whatever we call them. These individual actors are also key in policy changes. So what is the situation of food and nutrition security in both countries? In Ethiopia, we have remarkable progress in poverty and food insecurity reduction. The same for malnutrition, but obviously hunger and malnutrition remain major issues. And in Burkina Faso, poverty persists despite sustained economic growth, but malnutrition has been reduced, but micronutrient deficiencies remain major issues. And for instance, for anemia, we have this percentage for children under 5, which is really stagnant since 2003. So in Burkina also you have the issue of overweight and obesity, which is increasingly, is rapidly increasing, in particular in urban areas. If we have a look on food and nutrition security policies, we see that in Ethiopia, the introduction of the Productive Safety Net program in 2006 brought a radical shift. So before this program, there was an appeal for humanitarian assistance every year, and this program brought, I would say, a twofold shift in the vision of food and nutrition security from agriculture to a social perspective, and also in the instruments from short-term to long-term and predictable instruments, since this program is primarily based on multi-annual cash-based program. In Burkina Faso, changes in the FNS policies seem less visible. The key policy document is the National Policy on Food and Nutrition Security, just recently adopted, and it covers the 4 pillars of food insecurity, but actually it is really focused on boosting agricultural productivity and food accessibility. Nutrition dimensions remain really limited. In both countries, food security issues are managed by a National Council on Food Security under the Ministry of Agriculture. Intersectoral bodies do exist. For instance, there is an interministerial management committee for the coordination of the PSNP, and in Burkina Faso, the National Council for Food Security presents itself as an intersectoral body. But we try to go beyond the existence of these intersectoral bodies to get information on how they work, actually. And regarding short-term, long-term responses, it seems that the situation is pretty clear in Ethiopia. You have the PSNP, which deals with chronic food insecurity, whereas other instruments address transitory food insecurity. In Burkina Faso, the discussion on food security within the National Council for Food Security actually are really predominantly focused on short-term, the short-term dimension of food and nutrition security and agricultural dimension. What we observed also is that social and nutrition dimensions actually tend to have their own agenda and their own institutional frameworks in parallel to food insecurity issues. So we can say that there is not a single intersectoral body to coherently and comprehensively address all the dimensions of food and nutrition security, but rather a tendency of the multiplication of intersectoral spaces to address each dimension of food and nutrition security. One explanation for the predominance of agriculture in the FNS policies is path dependency in the vision of FNS. Actually, in Ethiopia, visions which focus on, I would say, the demand side of food and nutrition security, for instance, rural-urban migration or rural non-farm employment, are not adequately addressed. And in Burkina Faso, the interviews raised frequently issues such as seeds, agricultural financing, productivity, producer prices, but this vision competes with a rather marginalized vision focusing more on cash transfers and nutrition. And it seems that this production-oriented vision of food and nutrition security is really rooted in the training of actors. I mean, the vast majority of actors involved in food and nutrition security field are trained in agronomy, agricultural economy, etc. So what is the role of development partners in these policy-making processes? Of course, they contribute strongly in the definition of FNS policies because they work closely with the government, but also in the implementation of these policies through significant funding. And in Ethiopia, they particularly contributed to the design of the PSNP, because actually some aid actors have moved towards cash-based transfers, and the government in a way scaled up these field experiences of aid actors. And in Burkina Faso, you have, I would say, a core group of development partners, which is very active in FNS policies. He contributes a lot to the drafting process of the national policy on food and nutrition security, and it is very active in discussion within the National Council for Food Security. We observe also that huge efforts have been made in coordination between aid actors, but maybe less, I would say, in the internal organization, especially of large aid actors, which tend to work, which tend to address the different dimensions of food and nutrition security in different services or departments. So you have support for agriculture, support for nutrition, support for social transfers, etc. And they tend to work in silos. Regarding trade policies, of course, they influence food prices and therefore food and nutrition security. In Ethiopia, trade policies moved from parasitic-centric control to some kind of liberalization with ad hoc public intervention. Actually, the government imports huge amounts of wheat to supply millers and bakers, and of course this has positive impact for the poor, but might affect producers' incentives. And there is also a strong move towards market-based instruments. You have the commodity exchange, the production insurance in Ethiopia, but actually the government continues to intervene on the markets through, for instance, price cap or grains export bans for safety nets, and also the idea of a regional food security reserve to protect vulnerable people. To conclude, I would like to focus on first the fact that the multidimensionality of food and nutrition security is widely recognized. All the actors interviewed say, of course, it is multidimensional, we have to address coherently and comprehensively all the dimensions, but actually this is poorly implemented through intersectoral collaboration. Second, the key role of development partners, and still the challenge of coordination, in particular in the internal organization of large aid actors. And third, the decreasing of agriculture taxation in trade policies. And in a way, this is the reduction, I would say, of a paradox between having production-oriented food and nutrition securities and agriculture taxation. So I think having multi-dimensional food and nutrition security policies is really a long-term agenda. And maybe to really conclude, in terms of recommendation for the EU in aid and development areas, I would like really to focus on this issue of internal organization, because in the European Commission or in the European delegations in the countries, you have supports for agriculture, social and nutrition, but these are not really articulated, and so certainly some efforts have to be made for better coordination, and also better coordination between emergency and development supports. I mean, between ECHO and development supports. So I think because the EU is really a key actor in FNS policies in Ethiopia and in Burkina Faso, this kind of example of working intersectorally could be a driver for other aid actors and hopefully for the governments in this country. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Arlène.